Well, hello and good morning. Welcome to today's program, The Secret Marketing Weapon You Don't Know How to Use. Psst, it's email. Love that title. This webinar is being presented by Judith Lee, SCORE workshop presenter, experienced communications professional, freelance writer, and marketing consultant. Judith is founder and owner of Communication Works Now, where she helps small businesses use email and social media as effective and affordable tools that level the playing field in today's competitive environment. Thank you, Judith, for sharing this important information, and I trust all of our viewers will find it informative and helpful. Next slide. My name is Maria Smith, and I'm a volunteer with SCORE of Chester and Delaware counties. SCORE is a nonprofit organization that has been in existence for over 50 years and is a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. SCORE's mission is to foster a strong small business community by providing free mentorship and business education. We are here to support you and help you grow your business. Here in Chester and Delaware counties, we have 100 volunteers ready to help. Our mentoring and most of our educational programs are free. You will find many tools, templates, and other business resources on our website resource library. Next slide.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay. Great, thank you. This presentation is being recorded and will be made available to you along with a copy of the slide deck after today's session. You will all have been placed on mute so we avoid distractions. Please ask your questions. We're interested in your questions. Put them in the Q&A box and we will take breaks to answer them. It will take a moment while we just turn over the presentation to Judith now. So you're welcome to go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Maria. That was a lovely introduction. And I want all of you to know that one of the best things about SCORE is the SCORE colleagues I have, like Maria, every one of whom is a very accomplished professional in their field. Okay, let's go over a little roadmap for today's presentation. We'll talk about why you need email marketing, how to get started, how to get opened and read, and tools that you can use for creating professional emails that get opened and read. And then we'll also use those tools to create email marketing messages. And I'll also talk about what else we can do with it, because the work you put into an email message can be leveraged on other platforms. I want to also just say that today's presentation is geared for someone who hasn't really launched an email marketing campaign. If you are more advanced and already are using email marketing, you may feel free to ask more advanced questions during the presentation at the Q&A breaks, and I will be taking those breaks. Okay, email as a marketing tool. The reason I love email marketing is you can reach virtually everyone with email. Just about everyone has it and uses it. 99% of email users, they check their email daily. And that is 251.8 million Americans. So you have a tool that is very powerful if you know how to use it. I love email marketing because there's an excellent return on investment. In general, digital marketing has a higher return on investment than other types of marketing. That includes email. Email has the highest return on investment, returning $36 for every $1 spent. In comparison, social media ads are a little bit lower, still high, but print display ads are much lower. So with email marketing, you have a really a low investment and a higher return on investment. It's also, email marketing is an extremely cost-effective tool. For instance, I got started in email marketing in 2009. I didn't even know what it was. I was trying to help a new client market an event, and we needed to market to people in countries, and it was difficult to do at that time. I learned how to do it. We had great results, by the way, that client and they're still with me. You can do the email marketing yourself. You can train a staff person to do it. You don't have to pay an agency. There's no other associated expenses than what I'm going to go over with you. And this is particularly startups and solo entrepreneurs, which pretty much I have been and am. Okay, I'm sorry, let me just say, okay, so here's an example of an email message that you could produce. This is produced by a health coach, and she and I worked together. She would send a weekly message every Monday, very short. She would make a very short video once a week using Zoom, actually, no special equipment. And then I would help her by posting it and sending it to her list. These were all things that she could have done herself. It's very simple, and really anyone can learn to use it. Here's another example of a very simple email newsletter, a monthly newsletter that a startup was doing. There's just 3 short articles. They link back to the source. There's pictures, nice looking pictures. There's video. That's it. Boom. He did this pretty much himself once I showed him how to do it, and you can too. So getting started with an email program is very simple. That's another thing I like about it. There's really 5 simple steps. You collect your email addresses. You choose an email service provider, okay? An email service provider is a company that is allowed to send large amounts of email messages. If you do that personally, if you send more than 25 email addresses from your at one time from your email address, you're at risk for being called a spammer and being shut down. So you need the email service provider. You simply upload your email addresses to the email service provider. You don't have to have a lot to start with. I've started with as few as 25, okay, and clients grow their list. You gather or create content, and then you use the templates and tools that the email service provider offers to get going. These email service providers are set up to help you, so I have every confidence you would have what you need. I'm going to jump in with a question that a frequently asked question. Where do I get the email addresses? Do not go out and buy a list and send emails. First of all, it's illegal. You need to have permission. And second of all, it's not going to do you any good. People aren't going to, if people don't want to hear from you, they're not going to open your emails. So you need to initiate a process. Gather email addresses when you gather customer information. Ask customers to sign up at your store if you have one, or at an event. You can have an online event and ask people to sign up. Ask visitors to your website to sign up. And for instance, the email service provider will give you those sign-up forms to put on your website. And then you can also ask them to sign up in social media. But if people give you their email address, that is considered permission to use that email address. And please don't sell it or give it away. Just use it for your business purposes. All right, we're getting close to a Q&A session, so don't worry, your questions will be addressed. So here's a list of email service providers. I gave you 4 that are very good, highly thought of. I will say the cost to start is about $50 a month. They usually based on how many email addresses you have. And that is usually the cost. You can often get a free trial. So you can go in and sign up without giving them money, and you can learn to use it without that investment. Now, when you get to ready to send out something, you're going to want to be have a paid account. Okay. I will take questions if we have any in the Q&A queue.
Nothing is in the Q&A at the moment. Everybody is paying, I guess, very strict attention.
Okay.
But there might
All
be
right.
some that come up.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, let me just make sure I get. Okay, so some rules of thumb about email marketing. Always provide information that your customer wants or needs, okay? If you don't do that, they're not going to keep opening your emails. You've got to be useful to them. You've got to serve their needs. It's also a good idea to be engaging, be a person that they might want to know. Surprise them, inspire them, educate them, amuse them. It's often good to use both photos and video. Video gets the greatest engagement in any platform, and you can always embed videos into your email messages. Sorry, on to face. So some tools for content creation are where you can go to get content. Now, first of all, if you can write your own content and take your own pictures, that's the best, because that original content is what Google is really looking for out there. And you will never run any risk of plagiarizing anyone. But many of us don't have time to write original content or take your own videos or any of those things. So the way you begin to gather good content is to go to an authoritative source without any commercial interest. Don't go to one of your competitors and steal their content. That is just not a good idea. You can find an authoritative source like a professional association, a government site, a municipal or nonprofit website, okay? Those folks will have accurate information without commercial bias. And that's what you want to be sharing with your customers, because that will build trust with them. Okay, so here's a quick example of how I use it. This is a weekly email that goes out and gets great open rates. This is an article from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The group this is sent on behalf of is a group of healthcare professionals. Their email messages always have useful health information. And I go to very good, accurate sources like the CDC. And I share that. And I also make sure I link back to that source so people can learn more. All right, now there's another tool. It's new. Everyone's talking about it. Artificial intelligence. Is this your new best friend? I will tell you, I used it to start this presentation. It's a great time saver for getting started and gathering statistics, which is what I used it for. With artificial intelligence, which is very fast. That's GPT, Google Bard, Chat Sonic, UChat, and Bing Chat. Okay, those are all examples, and they're, as far as I know, all free. Remember always to verify facts and statistics. They can, the AI can gather those really fast, but AI doesn't know if it's right or wrong. For instance, there was one statistic that AI gathered for me, and when I checked it, it was inflated, and I had to find a more verifiable source. One thing you should know is that AI does a decent job of writing, and if your writing is not your thing, it will write something very well for you with a simple prompt. However, once again, it doesn't know if it's right or wrong. So if you're going to have AI write for you, just use it as a time saver and have it write on topics where you will know if it's right or wrong. Okay. Oops, I am twitchy on the cursor today. Some other tools, photos. You can use your own photos, which are best. You can also get royalty-free photos, which are wonderful. They're free, and I use them a lot. You can buy stock photos. They can be expensive. They can be worth it if you're going to use an image or need a particular image. The same is true of video. You can get royalty-free video. I know I've used it. It's good stuff. You can also buy stock video, and it's very, very, these are good tools. Remember, search for it and you'll find it. You're on Google or YouTube or some of the other search engines. You can find what you need out there. Here's a quick example of an email newsletter I put together using some royalty-free photos. So these were, I just searched for, here it was like a stern adult, here was kids in t-shirts, and here was kids on a scavenger hunt. And you just use those search terms just as you would with your royalty-free photo website, just like you would use it on Google. Rules of thumb, shorter is better. If you have a long message, break it down into small bites. Answer the frequently asked questions, okay? Go ahead and ask the questions. Like, for instance, always ask the unasked question, like, how much is this going to cost me? I made sure to do that when we talked about those email service providers, to give you that cost information, because people want to know. Okay, they're looking for answers. And if you provide answers, they're going to open your emails, they're going to read them, and over time, they're going to trust you. Okay, I'm going to stop here and see whether we have any questions.
We did have one that was in the chat box, Judith. It was about what is considered a great open rate?
That is a wonderful question. And I do have a slide on that for later.
Okay.
But let me just say quickly that typically a good or average open rate is like 18% to 20%. Okay. But you can get a much higher open rate if you're providing the information that your customers want. And also to compare, if you think back to the days of direct mail, and we still sometimes receive direct mail in the mail, a 1% to 2% open rate was considered good. So it's your open rate, you can achieve a much greater open rate with email.
Great. We have a couple of other questions in the Q&A box. How does the unsubscribe tool work?
That's a wonderful question. The unsubscribe tool is very important because If people receive your email, let's say, they gave you the email, you're using it, but they decide they don't want to receive your emails anymore, you have to make it easy for them to unsubscribe. If it isn't easy for them, that's spam. The email service providers all have a very easy unsubscribe process. Usually at the bottom of the email message, it's an automatic part of your template, and people can just hit unsubscribe, and not only are they unsubscribed, but you can't put their email back in. In fact, only they can resubscribe. So that's a safeguard to make sure that people who don't want to receive them anymore can get out. Another question, Maria?
Yes, Anne would like to know if you could speak about HubSpot CRM capabilities.
Okay, just quickly, CRM is customer relationship management, and it is a wonderful tool. Many companies use it to keep track of any interactions they have with customers. And HubSpot is an organization that will give you that capability. You can keep notes on any interaction with customers, anything you want to share with your team. And then from that list of customers that you generate, you can put out emails and what I call e-blast, which are short messages. I know that HubSpot is very highly respected. There's other CRM companies. And if you're just a beginner in this, or you have a small client list, it's probably not going to make a big difference to you. But if you have a larger list, if you have a lot of customers, if you have a team of people interacting with customers, CRM is a great thing to have.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have one more question that's not in the box here, but
Okay.
You mentioned reliable sources and gave some really good examples. Do you need, is there a guideline on how or if you have to indicate your sources on your email?
Yes, I think the best way to indicate your sources is to link back to the original source. So if you noticed in the example I gave, I had just part of the article in the email, and then at the bottom it said read more. And that was a link that you can click, and it takes you back to the CDC. Mm-hmm. As long as there is a link back to the original source, you're giving credit to that source.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Good.
Are you ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So to create an email, you need to ask yourself some questions. Is this a one-time event or a campaign? And the difference is, for instance, one client right now of mine is having a sale event. So I created like one email for that, and we're repeating that to just advertise that event, and then that ends at the event. A campaign is something that's going to take place over time. A newsletter is a type of campaign, and you might also have a long-term promotion toward an event. That's a campaign. Is it going to be sent weekly or monthly? Either one can have very good results. And have you gathered the content? That's a little important to do, especially early on. Gather your content ahead of when you need to put this together. And one of the key things to do is choose an appropriate template. A template will be provided by your email service provider. Okay, and here's examples of templates. You see, they're colorful. They have places to put photos. The email service provider gives you these photos to use. If you want to put your own photos in, replace your own photos, you may. You can change the colors. I often use this template, which is a typical newsletter type template. But I've used this template. I've used this template and changed, like this one, I loved the picture and I changed all the text. And this one, didn't like the picture so much, liked the layout, put in new pictures, change the colors. So your templates, that's a real value of your email service provider, giving you a template that's made for a person who's not a designer. They're designed by designers, and then you have that professional look with your email. All right, now we're getting into one of the most common questions. How do I get them to open it? We all receive so many emails, myself included. Some I never open, some I delete, some I just miss. So standing out is important. So one of the first ways to guarantee it is always providing information that your customer wants or needs. It doesn't have to have anything to do with your business. For instance, a client of mine was an insurance agency. I guarantee you no one wants to read about insurance. But in this community where the insurance agent wanted to be known, they wanted to know about community events. So every month I would gather information about all the community events for that month. Okay. There was a tiny little promo about insurance in there. And of course, the logo of that insurance agency was on it, but it was all full of these events from the township, from the Little League, from the school, and people loved this newsletter and opened it. Okay. If you serve them with what they want or need, they will trust you, and that will really help your open rate. And also over time, you will learn what is the day and time they are most likely to open it. All right. But I will tell you overall, the key is your subject line, because think of that in email queue, all those emails. If a subject line grabs you, you usually click on it. Okay. So that subject line, you want to put some learning in there. I mean, the importance is obvious. 69% of recipients mark something as spam or delete it based on the subject line. And 64% of recipients who open it, they open it based on the subject line. Your subject line needs to be short, 5 to 8 words, push your customers' hot buttons, be clever if you can, and then write a subhead with the same rules as a subject line, slightly different words, okay? Or maybe a little more information. Here are some great subject lines. Late, but not too late. No-brainer fundraiser. 5 mistakes you're going to make. When it rains, it pours. And wait, there's jazz in China. So how do we know the subject line is great? The open rate tells you. You can, your email service provider will tell you the open rate, and you need to monitor that. And over time you will, because it's very important. Okay, little more on open rate. So in most industries, 18 to 20% open rate is average or good. In a membership organization, it should be higher than that, 25 to 30%, because these are members. But with the right content, you can far exceed these numbers. Remember, the subject line gets them to open. The great content keeps them opening. Oops. I am there. Okay. So here's some open rates, real open rates from some of my clients just recently. Okay. So these folks have 7,594 email addresses on their list, a 62% open rate. That means almost 4,000 people open their email every month. I mean, that is just so great. This one also has a very large list, a 47% open rate, which once again is almost 4,000 people a month. Both of these are monthly email newsletters. Here is a new client. So they have a smaller list, but still they've got a 54% open rate. This is another monthly newsletter, 7,807 sends and 3,856 people open it. And these are consistent open rates every month. So let's try to create an email. Your template will tell you where to place content, okay? And it's best to use the suggestions of the template because a designer created it. Make sure you have a photo for every article. Make sure you embed some video in every email message. Always link back to your source or to a PDF you create. Now, a PDF is just a document that you can embed in your email. Sometimes I don't really want the viewer to go back to that source or go to another website. I want them to stay on that newsletter, and a PDF will just open and they can read the rest of the article. What I do then is at the bottom of the PDF, I put the link to the original source, but a PDF is not clickable. So that link is there if a person really wants to type it into their browser. It also lets the person know what the source is. That's all important to do in your email. Oh, and the email design should reflect your brand. So you want to have the same colors as in your logo. You want to have your logo on your email blasts and then use the same colors and a complementary font. All of this is easy to do and choose within your template. Okay, so here is an example of an email. Here is this is the same one I showed early on, where I showed an example from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Okay, this is a member organization that sends a weekly email to its members and people who have given permission to send to them. So we have a combination of member information and also healthcare information. And this seems to work so well. This was my very first email client back in 2009, and we're still going strong. We have at times sent 2 emails a week and still have a great open rate. Their open rate, they have a small list, but very, very devoted, a 55% open rate. We send it weekly or 2 times a week. Here, this one has a warm holiday greeting. It was right around Easter. These folks are all Armenian. So I was sending a holiday, an Easter greeting. They're all of the same religion. I would send more of a generic holiday greeting if it was an organization, a different organization. Interesting health news. Here is some interesting health news. Okay. A member event. Okay. This is an event for members to go to. Because this is a volunteer organization, request to donate. There's a request every month to sign up for Roundup, which is a way to raise money for a nonprofit. Events, always important. And then their board and their mission statement. Okay. This is sort of their formula. This content changes every week. This changes every week. This weekly email gets put on their website. And in fact, at times I can link back to emails on the website, which is a really good thing to do. Okay, stopping for questions.
Okay, we don't have any questions in either the chat or the Q&A right now, but all good stuff.
Okay, well, we're moving along.
Yep.
I only have a little bit more in my presentation. So let me just take this opportunity to cover a couple of topics that are a little more advanced. Okay, someone just starting an email program doesn't need to be too concerned about what I'm going to talk about. But once you get into the program, here's something that's very important. And at SCORE, we found this to be very important because we send email, we do email marketing at SCORE. And one of the things that's important for any email marketing person is their list. You want to always maintain your list. Just going back to this client here that I was talking about, this one. All right, so we periodically go through with this. The email service provider gives me all this information, okay? And they also give me what's called a bounce rate. And those are email addresses where they can't be delivered. They're either out of date or, maybe someone changed jobs and they're not at that job anymore. When I notice a bounce rate of 10%, 5%, 10% or higher, I just go in and I eliminate all those emails. They don't do you any good. It makes this number here look bigger, but it doesn't help this number. Okay, and this is the number you care about. How many people, what percentage are opening it? Those that are bouncing are just lowering your open rate, and those people, they're never going to receive it. So you need to go in. My clients get a little upset. They feel they don't want to remove anyone from their list, but it's important very important to maintain the list and make sure it goes to receive it. I'll give you one more example of list maintenance. I have a client that's a painter, a painting contractor, and he had very cleverly segmented his list by the year. So he had customers from 2015, customers from 2016, customers for 2017, and so on. And we would send an email newsletter to everyone. Well, his open rate started going down. Didn't have a huge bounce rate. And so I did a test and I sent that email separately to the various lists. And of course, the most recent customers had a high open rate. And the ones back in 2015, almost no one was opening it. So it was a very simple solution. We got rid of those older customers. And his open rate improved. There was no reason to keep sending to people who were not opening it. Some sends to people that don't open are okay. But you don't want to become one of those annoying people who keep sending you things and you don't open them. So list maintenance, very important. I work on the lists. And once again, this list maintenance is supported by the email service provider. They give me the tools to do it. They would give you the tools to take care of your list, keep it clean. Score at one time didn't do that. And now the person in charge of that list and those emails, she does a wonderful job keeping it very tight, and we get very, very good open rates.
Thanks. We do have a question now in the
Oh,
box.
good.
Awesome. So
Oops.
other than
There
the
you go.
open rate, how do you measure success? Is one of those measures conversion of on the list to actively engage in purchase?
Well, that is certainly an indicator, but you have to remember that this is marketing and not sales. I'm talking about email marketing, and marketing creates an environment where you can sell things. If you don't market, you're probably not going to sell that much. However, marketing does not always have a direct line to sales, a direct conversion. And so I would caution you against using that as a strict measure of success. With marketing, just having visibility, that, in other words, just that open rate tells you that there are people who are hearing the name of your company, listening to what you say, and they are doing it over and over. And those people are more likely to use you again. They're much more likely to refer colleagues, friends, family to you. And you have created an environment for sales. I always say, if someone has never heard of you, they're not going to buy from you. So that's really important to create that. You know, when I see marketing for Coca-Cola, I don't necessarily run out and buy Coca-Cola. However, Coca-Cola is one of the greatest marketing successes in the world. It's a product no one needs. There are other beverages to drink. Some of them are free. It's called water. And it may not even be good for you. But through marketing, the magic of marketing, a lot of us, including myself, buy Coca-Cola. So I hope that answers your question. I just would caution you, I would just say to you, just knowing you've increased your visibility, say, you know, you have the open rate, perhaps you link back to your own website. Those click-throughs can be a great indication of visibility. That's really what marketing does.
Judith, I can just share real quickly a score example here. We don't sell anything, but we certainly are promoting our services. I think these email programs, these platforms, they don't necessarily have the ability to tell you if the person who opened your email buys anything or signs up for anything. But one of the things that Score does that really is very helpful to us, and many of you who signed up for today, you might have been asked a question when you were registering about how you heard about Score, and you were given a few prompts on how to answer that question. So if you're getting some new customers, it's always a good idea to ask them, how did you hear about us? And see what they tell you.
Absolutely. That's a great comment, Maria, and very, very true. I will also tell you that I have found that people often don't remember where they heard about someone.
Very true.
Don't that much to heart either. I've had clients say to me, well, we did this survey and they didn't say they saw it on Facebook. I said, well, they did see it on Facebook, but they don't remember. It could be, it's more of a subliminal message, but it is good to ask, because sometimes you'll be surprised about what the answers are. Okay, well, I just have a couple more slides to go over, and we can take some more questions. We're in good time here. All right, so leverage your email marketing. For my clients, after I do create their email newsletter that goes out, say once a month, I break all the content into small bits. And I, oh, wait a minute, that's the next slide. Let me say, first of all, I encourage my clients to always put their email newsletter on their website. Your website tells your story, and your newsletter tells your story too. A new email refreshes content. Okay. Search engines like that. You can usually you'll have to ask your webmaster to create a way for you to put your email newsletters up, or he or she will have to put them up for you. And then they should create a searchable content archive. It's a place to store all your content, and it's just you're placing your email marketing on your website is a great idea. And you also want to leverage your email marketing by posting articles on social media. Okay. Whatever channels you use, you can post little bits of articles, break it into short posts, use the photos that you have either paid for or got from royalty-free sites. Link back to the email posted on your website. Put a photo or video with every post. I get a month's worth of social media out of one email newsletter. All right. Remember, each of these platforms have a different audience and purpose. So you want to be aware of that when you're posting. Okay. I want to say I'm really finished with my presentation. I can take a few more questions before I turn this back over to Maria.
Nothing in our boxes right now, but someone asked a question earlier, I think, about, or you had mentioned earlier about the importance of the different target groups in a company. So Judith, are there any times that there should be any different messaging for one type of customer or group of customers versus another group of customers when you talk about email?
That is a very good question. And yes, there often are times when you do need different messages. So I'll give you an example of a new client of mine that is actually a nonprofit. This nonprofit functions a little more like a foundation, and they sponsor a film festival. Well, they want to send messages to filmmakers. They also are in great need of donors, and their donors aren't necessarily filmmakers. The donors are other people in the community who support their cause. So we do keep those lists separate. Your email service provider will allow you to make different lists, and we send an overall newsletter once a month to everyone on the list, and then we send specific messages to the filmmakers, different messages to the donors. It takes a little more work, but you will be more effective. You know, and this is true of my client, that's the healthcare professionals and also people in the community that want health related news. Sometimes I send a members only message to just the members, and sometimes I just send what we call a medical alert to the people in the community who want health information the members already have because they're healthcare providers. We keep the list separate, but the the email service provider allows us to send to everyone if we care to, or to send to specific lists. So that might sound a little complicated. It's not, but it does require you to do some double duty on some of your messaging.
Great. Well, thanks for that, because it probably does make a difference in certain types of businesses, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Well, then we'll start to wrap up a little bit. But Judith, first of all, thank you for all the insights and tips about email marketing. You gave us a lot to think about and a lot to work on. As mentioned earlier, you will all receive the recorded webinar as well as a copy of the slide deck today. And I did put Judith's contact information in the chat box for those of you who would have any follow-up questions, or if you think of something later after we wrap up. But for the scores here to help you remember with your next steps on your business plans and challenges on this topic or other topics, please reach out to your SCORE mentor for support. You're not alone in this process. If you're not already working with a SCORE mentor, you can request one by going to our website at this link here shown in the slide, or by calling the phone number and speaking with Catherine Weisenberger. She's our office administrator. She can help to match you with an appropriate mentor. The topic of today is a good conversation to have with your mentor. And we do have subject matter experts who can also dig in a little deeper with you on that. This information will also be included in the follow-up email from SCORE. We can go to the next slide. Okay, there you go. On this slide, you will see Judith's contact information as well as SCORE's overall contact information. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. Just before we all wrap up and leave here, I wanted to launch this end of webinar poll that we use to get your feedback on how we did, and also how we can improve some of our future business training sessions. Is that visible on your screen, Judith?
It is visible on my screen. Everyone should be able to see that.
Okay, great. So if you would all just take a moment, they're easy yes and no questions. If you could just take a second, we'll pause here to give you time to give us some feedback. We're adding new content all the time. This, as we know, was one of our newer presentations, but it's really important to make sure we understand what works for you. Okay. People are clicking away here. Thank you very much.
Good. Yeah, thank you. We really, these polls, we read them. We read your feedback. It means a lot to us.
And as you all know, you can go to the SCORE website that was posted here, and you can look at the local live events. Just click on that and you can look at all the upcoming workshops and webinars that are coming up. There's lots of good topics all the way through June. We usually take a pause in July and August because it's such a heavy vacation time for people, but back in September as well.
Yeah, and I want to just jump in and say, first of all the SCORE presentations are really well done. Maria herself has an excellent presentation, at least one, maybe more. There's a lot of free information that SCORE can provide through presentations, seminars like this. But I also want to say the mentors, in other words, you can have a one-on-one mentor who will meet with you as often as you need for as long as you need. This is like having a free business consultant. And the work, I'm not a mentor, but the work that I've seen mentors do is really awe-inspiring, and really they can really help you.
Thanks. That's absolutely true. Yeah. Okay. I think most everyone who could answer the poll answered it. So I'm going to just close that up. And I just want to say again, thank you for joining us today. You're very busy people, and we appreciate the time that you are investing in yourself and your business to learn. So it's a wrap, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Thank you all.